Most people are paying $20 a month for the wrong one. Not a bad one, the wrong one for the job they actually sit down and do. Here's why that keeps happening. The top 2 models on the independent leaderboards right now are 2 points apart out of 100. 2! So which one is smartest is a dead question. And I'm not running a private benchmark at you. The independent numbers are already public. You'll see each one on screen with who published it and when.
Instead, 5 jobs you actually do, and which of these 4 to open for each. Then what you'd really pay, and 1 settings screen to open the second this ends. The job picks the tool. Let's go.
Answers first, in case that's all you came for. Fixing real code? Claude. A long document you can't afford to get wrong? Claude, with ChatGPT a close second. What did my team decide on Tuesday? Copilot, and only Copilot. Anything already sitting inside Gmail or Docs? Gemini. And handing over a whole multi-step job and walking away? ChatGPT. That's it. That's the video. Everything after this is why, what each one costs you, and the place each one lets you down, because every one of them does. Start with the job where the gap is widest and the evidence is cleanest. On swe-bench Verified, where the model has to fix real bugs in real open-source projects, not answer a quiz about code, Claude Opus 5 tops the public leaderboards at around 96%, GPT-5.6 just behind. Anthropic shipped it on July 24th. Businesses voted with money, too. In the last big enterprise survey, Anthropic held 40% of business API usage, against OpenAI's 27% and Google's 21%.
There's also a dial most people never touch. Opus 5 lets you set how hard it thinks. Low, medium, high, X-high, or max. And at the top 2 settings, you can't turn the thinking off at all. Leave it parked at max, and you'll burn your daily limit on questions that needed 30 seconds. 2 honest catches. Claude can't generate images or video at all, and its free tier is the tightest of the 4. So if your work is code, this is the one. Set it to medium and stop hitting your limit by lunchtime.
Same answer for the next job, but for a completely different reason, and there's a trap in it. A contract, a policy, a 200-page report where 1 missed clause is the whole problem. Claude Opus 5 carries a 1 million token context window. So does GPT 5.6. Roughly speaking, that's a stack of paper about as tall as you are in one conversation. Here's the trap, and almost nobody mentions it. A big window isn't permission to paste everything. Every time you send a message, the model rereads the entire conversation from the top. Paste all 200 pages, and you pay for all 200 on every follow-up, which is exactly why your AI gets slower and hits limits faster the longer you work. So paste the section, not the book. You'll get a sharper answer and about 4 times the conversation out of the same plan.
Claude edges this one for careful reading of long documents. But if you already pay for ChatGPT, you're not missing much here.
Now, a job where 3 of these 4 are completely useless, and it isn't close. Ask Claude, ChatGPT, or Gemini what your team agreed in Tuesday's meeting, and they have no idea. They've never seen it. Copilot has. It lives inside Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Outlook, and Teams, and it reads your organization's actual files, emails, and meetings, which is why judging it as a chatbot misses the whole point of it. On the July 29th earnings call, Microsoft said Copilot crossed 30 million paid seats, more than doubling in 3 months. But here's the part that cuts both ways. Copilot doesn't break your company's permissions. It reflects them. It will surface anything you technically had access to and were never meant to read. One data risk report put 16% of business-critical files as overshared, around 800,000 per organization. Salary spreadsheets and HR documents turn up this way constantly. So if your employer pays for it, you're sitting on the only one of the 4 that knows your own company. Use it for exactly that. And if it hands you something that makes you wince, report it. Quick one. Which of these 4 do you have open right now? Drop it in the comments. That one you have to be given. This next one you already have, whether you went looking for it or not. Gemini's real advantage was never a benchmark score. It's already inside Gmail, Docs, Sheets, Slides, Drive, and Meet. If you use Google at all, you have some version of it. And the app on top is around 950 million people a month. Google's current lineup is Gemini 3.1 Pro at the top, with 3.6 Flash for speed. And yes, if you've been waiting on 3.5 Pro, it still hasn't shipped. Announced, delayed 3 times, no release date. The free tier is the real story, the most generous of the 4 by a wide margin. And paid, Google undercuts everybody at the bottom. AI Plus is $4.99 a month. It also wins outright on making things, since Claude can't generate images or video, and Gemini Omni builds video from a plain description. The catch is privacy, and Google's defaults are the loosest of the 4. Hold that thought for about 90 seconds. So if the work is already in a Google file, don't copy it out. The assistant is already in there with it. Every job so far, you asked something and read the answer. This last one is different. You hand over the whole task and leave. That's what ChatGPT has been built for this year. On a test called Agent's Last Exam, which measures whether a model can finish a long, multi-step job unsupervised, OpenAI reported its top model at 53.6, about 13 points clear of Claude's best. That's OpenAI's own number, not an independent one. They also shipped ChatGPT Work on July 9th, an agent you give the whole job to, not the question. 2 honest catches, and the second is the serious one. ChatGPT Free and the $8 Go plan now carry ads in the US. Plus and Pro don't. And when these agents browse the web for you, they can be hijacked by instructions hidden in a page. It's called prompt injection. And OpenAI's own security team says publicly it's unlikely to ever be fully solved. So hand over research and drafting, not your bank. Used inside those lines, this is the one that gives you back an afternoon. 5 jobs answered, which leaves the 2 things everyone actually decides on. Money first, and it's strange how this landed. All 4 converged on the same price. ChatGPT Plus, $20. Claude Pro, $20. Google AI Pro and Microsoft's consumer plan, $19.99 each. At the top, all 3 labs picked the same 2 rungs, $100 a month or $200. Copilot at Work is the exception, $30 a head on top of a business plan, no standalone. Which is rather the point. You need one of these, not 2. Then the setting. On a personal account, your conversations train these models by default. ChatGPT, Claude, and Gemini alike. Paying doesn't change it. It's a switch, and you can turn it off in about 2 minutes. ChatGPT under Settings, then Data Controls. Claude under Privacy Settings. Gemini in your Google account under Data and Privacy. Everything still works afterward. I'm doing the full audit across every one of these tools in Thursday's video. This is the 2-minute version. So, back to the $20 you're already spending. They're all good now. That's the genuinely new thing this year, and it's why the old questions stopped working. The gap between the best of these 4 and the rest is smaller than the gap between using one well and using one badly. So don't pick a favorite. Pick by the job. Code and long documents? Claude. Your own company's files? Copilot. Anything already in a Google file? Gemini. A whole job you want taken off your hands? ChatGPT. Now, one thing from you. Of those 5 jobs, which do you do most? Code? Long documents? Your company's files? Google files? Or handing over a whole task? Put in the comments. That decides which one I take apart next. If this saved you a second subscription, hit like. Send it to whoever in your life is paying for all 4. And subscribe. Thursday is the full privacy audit, and next Tuesday is why everything you learned about prompting is already out of date. Go pick one. See you soon.